A music critic's hands were trembling as he stared at his computer screen. He'd just published the review, called Michael Jackson's new album technically hollow, manufactured pop with no soul. 3 hours later, in a dark recording studio, what Michael showed him would force him to rewrite everything he thought he knew about music. What happened in that studio would haunt the critic for 18 years. And when Michael Jackson died in 2009, that same critic would write a confession that would end his career and save his soul. November the 12th, 1991. Beverly Hills Hotel, Los Angeles, 7:43 p.m. The Dangerous album launch party. Record executives, celebrities, music industry elite. Everyone wanted to celebrate Michael Jackson's new album. Everyone except David Richardson. David Richardson, 52 years old, senior music critic for Rolling Stone magazine, Grammy voting member, classically trained pianist from Juilliard, 28 years writing about music. He'd built his reputation on brutal honesty, on technical analysis, on separating real artistry from commercial product. That morning, his review of Dangerous had published in Rolling Stone. The headline, "The King's Empty Throne, Technical Mastery Without Musical Soul." The review was scathing. He'd called the production overproduced, the vocals processed to sterility, the songwriting lyrically juvenile. His conclusion, Michael Jackson has perfected the science of pop music while forgetting its art. This is music designed by committee, manufactured for maximum profit, devoid of authentic human emotion. The review had exploded. Music fans were furious. Jackson's label was threatening legal action. But Richardson stood by every word. He'd come to the party not to celebrate, but to observe. To watch the industry worship commercial success while ignoring artistic bankruptcy. At 7:43 p.m., Richardson stood near the bar, drinking scotch, watching the crowd with barely concealed contempt. That's when Michael Jackson walked directly toward him. Michael looked smaller than expected, more fragile. He wore a black suit, white shirt, no tie. His face was composed, but his eyes were wounded. "Mr. Richardson." "Mr. Jackson." Richardson didn't extend his hand, didn't smile. "I read your review this morning. I assumed you would." They stood in awkward silence. People around them noticed. Conversation stopped, everyone watching. Michael's voice was quiet. "Can I ask you something? Did you listen to the whole album?" "Of course I did. 3 times. I'm a professional." "Did you listen to it, or did you analyze it?" Richardson's laugh was dismissive. "There's no difference. Music is mathematics, structure, theory, technical execution. And your album, while technically competent, lacks authentic artistic depth." Michael's jaw tightened slightly. "I spent 3 years making that album. Poured everything I had into it, every emotion, every experience, every piece of my soul. With all due respect, what comes out is what matters, not the effort, and what came out is hollow, overproduced, emotionally sterile." Richardson leaned closer, voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "You know what your problem is. You've been famous so long you've forgotten what real emotion sounds like. You've got a team of producers and engineers creating sounds for you. But there's no you in it anymore, just product, just calculation, just business." Michael was very still. His face showed nothing, but his hands were shaking slightly at his sides. "I see." Michael's voice was barely audible. "Would you come to my studio tomorrow? Let me show you something. Just you and me. No press, no cameras, just music." Richardson wanted to refuse, This was probably a trap, a PR stunt, but something in Michael's eyes stopped him. Why? Because you're wrong, and I want to show you why, but I need to do it properly, not here, not with people watching. Richardson considered. This could be interesting, might make a good follow-up piece. The desperate defense of a fallen king. Fine. What time? 2 p.m. Record 1 Studios. Studio B, just you. No assistants, no managers. Agreed. Michael turned and walked away. The crowd parted for him. Everyone had watched the exchange. Everyone would be talking about it. Richardson finished his scotch, smiled slightly. This would be entertaining. November 13th, Record 1 Studios, 2 p.m. Richardson arrived on time. Engineer Thomas Chen led him to Studio B. Michael sat alone at a mixing console, jeans and black shirt. No entourage. Thank you for coming. Michael dismissed the engineer. They were alone. You said my music is manufactured. Empty. Let me show you something. Michael sat at the console. The song, Stranger in Moscow, you called it emotionally distant, technically interesting, lyrically vague. Michael pressed buttons. Sound filled the studio, but not the finished song. Layers, individual tracks, first piano, simple, E minor, standard progression. Basic, Richardson muttered. Then rain sounds, synthesized. Manufactured, Richardson said. Wait, strings, electronic. Then background vocals layered thick, becoming texture instead of melody. Richardson's criticism died in his throat. Then Michael played the main vocal, not the polished version, raw, first take. The voice was vulnerable, cracked in places, imperfect. The song was about isolation, being famous but invisible, surrounded by millions yet alone. Richardson felt something shift. This is the first take, 3 a.m. I'd been working 18 hours, exhausted, broken, missing my childhood, missing normalcy. He pressed another button, another version, even more raw. Michael's voice breaking, crying in places. Why didn't you use this? Because people don't want me broken. They want perfection. So I polish it, I layer it, I make it perfect. Michael looked at Richardson. You said it was hollow, no soul. So let me ask, if I gave you the broken version, you'd call it unprofessional. If I give you the polished version, you call it manufactured. What do you want from me? Richardson had no answer. Michael showed him other songs, breaking them down, showing the intention behind every choice. Richardson started to understand. The technical perfection wasn't hiding emotion. It was protecting it, creating space where raw pain could exist without being destructive. Play the album version now. Michael played the finished song, all layers together. This time Richardson heard it differently. The rain wasn't manufactured atmosphere. It was isolation made audible. The strings weren't fake emotion. They were the weight of loneliness. The technical perfection wasn't soulless. It was protection. A way to share pain without drowning in it. Oh, God, Richardson whispered. I didn't hear it. I was so busy analyzing structure I didn't hear the song. You heard with your training, not with your heart. Michael stood in the center of the studio. Dim lights. 2 men surrounded by silence. Can I show you one more thing? Richardson nodded. Michael stood in the middle of the room. No microphone, no effects, no production, and he sang the same song, completely alone, a cappella, just his voice. Without production, the emotion was devastating. His voice cracked, wavered, but the pain was real. The loneliness, palpable. The longing for normalcy, for connection, for being seen as human. It was all there, naked, unprotected. When Michael finished, silence. Richardson was crying, tears streaming. In 52 years of listening to music, he'd never felt anything like this. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I was so focused on proving my expertise, I missed the entire point." Michael sat down slowly, exhausted, vulnerable. "I'm not asking you to like my music, just asking you to hear it, the human being inside it." Richardson wiped his eyes. "I've been a critic for 28 years, and I've never actually listened. I've analyzed, I've judged, but I've never listened." He looked at Michael. "You're not manufactured. You're an artist using every tool to share something true. And I called you hollow. I'm sorry." Michael's smile was sad. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening." November 14th. Richardson's home, 6 a.m. Richardson hadn't slept. He'd been writing all night. A new article, a confession. Title: "I Was Wrong, What Michael Jackson Taught Me About Listening." He detailed his own arrogance, his use of analysis as a weapon, the studio, the layers, the raw vocal. His conclusion: "I have critiqued music for 28 years without actually listening. Michael Jackson's Dangerous is not hollow. I was hollow." He sent it to Rolling Stone at 6:30 a.m. His editor called. "This is career suicide." "I'm sure." The article ran 2 weeks later. Half praised his honesty, half called him a sellout. He lost his Grammy position, lost contracts. But young artists started reaching out, asking him to really listen. He started writing differently, approaching music as conversation, not judgment. He became a mentor. June 25, 2009. Michael Jackson died. Richardson, now 70, sat at his computer and wrote. Title: "The Man Who Taught Me to Listen. A Farewell to Michael Jackson." He wrote about that day in the studio, about finally hearing what he'd been missing. Michael Jackson spent his life being analyzed and judged, but very few actually listened to him. I was one who didn't listen, and when he showed me how, it changed everything. The article went viral. Today, Richardson is 75, teaches music criticism at UCLA. On his office wall hangs Michael's photograph. Below it, "He taught me that technical perfection isn't the opposite of emotion. Sometimes it's the only way to share emotion without being destroyed by it." November 13th, 1991. Every semester, first day, Richardson plays the song for students. Raw vocal, then finished version. Then he tells them the story. Analysis is a tool, but it's worthless if you forget to listen with your humanity first. Because on a November afternoon in 1991 in a dim recording studio, a famous critic learned that being the smartest person in the room means nothing if you've forgotten how to feel. And a lonely superstar taught him that vulnerability isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the only way to be truly heard. That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge lets you analyze music. Wisdom lets you hear the human inside it. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you've been wrong for 28 years. This story is inspired by Michael Jackson's artistry. All characters except Michael are fictional, but the message is eternal. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember to listen. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is admit you were wrong.